Today we will revisit the AxeFx Mark I. Back in the days when I started using modeling units, there was one moment which I remember, which was kind of the revolution for me, and that was when the Fractal Audio AxeFx 1 came out, the Ultra and the Standard. And before that time I was playing around sometimes with the I think it was the Pod XT, Line 6 Pod XT, and also some of the Boss units, and I got a Zoom 9.2 with these two pedals, or one pedal, and they were okay when recording, but I couldn't get decent sounds when going direct. I tried it out, and always I gave up and came back to my tube amps racks, which were basically Angle and I think the Mesa 290 triaxis at the time. But then I heard the good things about the Fractal Audio product, the AxeFx, and then I bought one, which was quite expensive then. But thought maybe if this is the solution, and I can get decent tones when going direct, then I don't have to carry around that much heavy shit. So yeah, tried it out, and I needed to learn how to tweak it, because it was at that time very difficult to tweak. It was a little bit easier after several firmware updates, but anyway. And the problem with other modeling units was always for me that the high end was very harsh in my ears and not natural. It was piercing my ears, and I reduced them with some high cut filters, but couldn't get a pleasant sound which was as harmonic as the sound which I got from tube amps. And the AxeFx 1 was then the first unit which I was happy with. In fact, the sounds I got were better than with my tube rack mic'd. And I had very expensive tube amps. As I said, I had Mesa Triaxis 290 with a 4x12 angle power cap. Still I have it all, but when I tweaked my AxeFx, then suddenly I got the best sound I ever had. And someone asked me now about the sound or for the AxeFx 1, and then I turned my AxeFx Standard on and played around a little bit. And today I would like to show you my sounds. So here we have a sound patch which is called Marshall. And I will explain it to you in a second. But first of all, I have to introduce my guitar, which is the Harley Benton Fusion HSH configuration, everything stock, Roswell pickups, stainless steel frets, ebony fretboard. I love these guitars. They're quite cheap and they're really good. And they smell like a beautiful woman. If you are interested in these guitars, please check out my other videos in the channel. Got a shitload of videos, comparisons of the different Fusion models. Yeah. Also some other Harley Benton guitars and shit. So back to the AxeFx. My signal chain starts with the input. You have the gate here in the input section. By the way, you have a knob which is determining the input signal on the unit, which you cannot see now. It's set around 12 o'clock, I think. Where is it? Let's verify it. Yes, it's not around, it's exactly 12 o'clock. I measured it out. And yeah, these are my gate settings. Here you have to adjust this gate and also the input control the unit to your guitar. Here I would like to have the gate not cutting anything when playing legato. So I'm playing always legato and then I raise the threshold until the desired until the floor noise is killed, like that. And then a little bit more. And that's working for me. And also the ratio is usually around that. And take is very slow, very fast, because you want the gate immediately to open when you're playing. And release is not that important. It should come back, and that when you finish playing, it should close again. Yeah, usually it starts with a wah block, which is currently turned off. I'm using the auto wah function here, which is basically something when you are connecting a controller, low frequency oscillator, just moving one knob for you. If I turn it on, sounds like that. If you want to be Kirk Hammett, then you need it. Also, you have control here about the frequency range, which the wah is affecting. Got a video about that auto wah thing in the AxeFx 3, but it's yeah, please check it out. You can find it in my channel. It's the same here, basically. Controls are not very different. Bypass it now. Don't use the phase and flanger now. Yeah, for my usual lead tone, I'm using a drive block in front of the amp in most scenarios. Tighten up the amp, and here you have the 808. And a nice feature, which unfortunately AxeFx 3 doesn't have, is the low and high cut here. As you can see here, it's basically only very narrow bandwidth is raised by this 808. That is something you can lower it a little bit, maybe to 400 Hz, then your input signal will get a little bit more lower mids, which I would do sometimes with guitars. Might be good for a lead tone, but here it may get too muddy, so I leave it now at that setting. Also, you can boost some other frequencies here in the input block section, which I don't do now. Yeah, and I set the level to max and drive to 0, which is usually the case when I'm boosting an amp. In the amp block, I'm using currently the Brit Pre model, which is yeah, sounds very close to the original in my opinion. The Marshall JMP1, this one space rec unit. These are my settings here, as you can see. With high gain tones, you should not raise the mass volume too much. So I set it usually around that, 2.5, 2.6. You don't have that much controls here, like in the AxeFx 2 or 3. What is very important on the advanced page is the damp and the depth. Here you have the amount of negative feedback, so basically the sub bass, which is yeah, not going back to the, or how should I explain it? Yeah, not going back to the input of the power amp. So yeah, usually I leave it at 0 in 99% of cases, because you don't need that much sub bass, but you can play around with that, of course, and raise it a little bit. Most situations it's not that helpful. And also the damp control, it raises some of the upper mids. It may sound good, maybe it may sound harsh with some amps. Here I set it to 5, yeah. And these controls here are also very helpful. This is the low cut and the high cut of the preamp. So usually in most high gain amps you find drastical settings here, so that the lows after the preamps are cut maybe around 400 or 500 Hertz, and also the highs are cut. So very focused signal is going to the power amp, and in the power amp the usually the bass and preset frequencies are coming back a little bit. But with this amp, these were the default settings that came with this amp model. And I think here they are working, but I will show you maybe other amp settings after this. In the cap block I'm using currently a third-party IR, which is my own. I created it. Yeah, I think I will upload my presets, which I will show you in this video, in AxeChange. So hopefully if I'm successful, then I will put a link in the description below, and then I will also upload the corresponding IR, which I'm using here. One thing you have to keep in mind with this unit is that here basically everything which is happens before the cap, or to be honest, that happens before you enter the first stereo block, is mono. So here we have mono signals. We have a cap block which is also mono, and after that the reverb is stereo. So from here you will have a stereo signal. And also this is stereo. So yeah, if you are using stereo effects, like especially the enhancer, which I have here, and also the delay, the ping pong delay, you have to make sure that you have a stereo route here in the chain. If you are putting, for example, the ping pong delay here, then it will be routed on one mono channel again, and you will have the same left and right on both speakers, which is not the desired goal in most situations. You want to have going from left to right. Yeah, so if you have problems with stereo effects, for example, if you put the enhancer here, then suddenly it sounds like shit, like a phasing shit, because here you don't have a stereo signal, and the enhancer is usually trying to delay the signal on one side a little bit in this setting. So this is my setting around 73% here. It's panned left and right, and if you do it and it's mixed on one channel again, then you have a phasing issue. If you do it on a stereo track, like here, then you have this desired widener effect, because then the right side is a little bit delayed, a couple of milliseconds. Okay, I think you know all that, but yeah, anyway. Also, of course, I got a video about this enhancing shit. And yeah, the ping pong delay, these are my settings here. And yeah, what I usually do is I like to raise it a little bit, so that creates a little bit of background noise. But if you do this and you don't want it to interfere with your playing, then you have to set a high cut. So I set it here. Otherwise, the delayed sounds will be coming to the foreground if they have too much presence. So I'm usually using high cut on the delay and also on the reverb. As you can see here, setting a high cut around 2K. Because I don't like high reflections in the reverb, just like to create a little bit of a more some kind of room sound. And also, if you do this, you can crank the mix way more, and also the time, than you would do without the high cut. For example, if I raise it here, sounds annoying to me. Yeah. So these are usually the effects I use for my 80s sound. And I'm using a graphic EQ, which is basically dialing out the mids and pushing some highs and dialing back some lows here. That is due to my IR which I'm using. So this amp model is nice in my opinion. Also, this was one of the few amp models where I think if I remember correctly, get a high gain tone just with the amp block. Let's try it. Yeah, it's also working. And yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is this page here, I think, and the amp geek section, as I call it. The power tube bias is something where you can get a little bit more of a focused tone if you crank it. I'll show you. Maybe like the brown sound, not even a halish. Oh, I like it here around the 3.5, 0.35 setting. And also here you have the tone stack control. So the tone stack is basically which frequencies are affected by your bass, middle and treble, and also where the center of these frequencies is. So here it's around 900 Hertz. And you could choose, of course, a passive tone stack type, which I did now, which is maybe the default tone stack of the amp. You could use an active tone stack, which is way more powerful, which is has fixed values, I think. Also, you could use a tone stack of another amp. For example, here you have a Marshall preamp model, but we could use the tone stack of the rectifier here. Suddenly you have this huge bass frequencies that the Recto has. For me, there are a couple of tone stacks which are useful, but yeah, you could play around with them. I think the Plexi was one which I like very much. And yeah, of course you can play around with the tone center frequency. I think with Marshall amps it's usually around 600 Hertz. Maybe with the PVs you have around 550. This is something now I dialed back the mids, I think. I know the bass, okay. And then as you can hear, when I'm shifting the tone center frequency, these bass frequencies are shifted also, which are affected by the bass control. As I go down, then suddenly you have more maybe more bass frequencies. The bass frequencies are shifted a little bit to the left, which are cut, and here a little bit to the right. I don't know exactly. I think I have to read that up again. Okay, so finally we can check out some of the other amp models which I prepared here. We have the Friedman. It's basically the same chain here. And these things are maybe the same here, because the amp model is different. Drive is also the same. Yeah. And the Recto New was also an amp, which I like very much. Let's see. Here I was choosing the Recto Red tone stack. Might be a little bit too mid-focused in this situation. By the way, you have also the ability to choose the tone stack location here. So in most amps, it's located post-gain, but in some amps like the Mesa Triaxis or the Mesa Mark amp series, it's located pre-gain. And then the bass, middle and treble control is affecting the input signal. That is basically like a boost section. Please check out my video about that. Pre-gain equalization and post-gain equalization. Pre-gain equalization is very important if you want to create a high gain, tightest, anus, rhythm sound, lead sound, whatever. But we are controlling the pre-gain here with the drive block in front of the amp. So we are using the bass, middle and treble control the conventional way as a post-gain tone stack. Let's choose a Marshall here. I like it a little bit better here, so let's save it. The Marshall we had before, what do we have? Recto Red. Maybe here we could also choose the Marshall. That's way louder than the others. It's one louder, isn't it? As you can hear, maybe it sounds a little bit similar to you, but that is because I'm using the same AR and because I tweaked every amp to my own taste, and my taste is the same with every amp, so yeah, usually I end up with similar sounds, but the amp models are tweaked quite different. So we have some others. Oh no, these are some old ones. Yeah, okay. So finally I'd like to show you which stock IRs I used back in the days. And as far as I remember, before I discovered third-party IRs, I was using the 30 watts IR that came with the unit. You have here mono and stereo, so let's stick with mono first. And sounds a little bit harsh to me in this setting. So another one which I used was the Recto one, and I think there are two Recto ones. One is 4x12 Recto 1 and another was a Recto 2, I think. Where is it? I combined them. The Recto 2 is more bass heavy. Okay, here they are panned to the left and the right. Let's pan them both in the middle. And it's a little bit too harsh, so what I did is I reduced the one, which is more, more harsh. What is it? And let's reduce it. Okay, now it's a little bit too scooped, I think, because I'm using here drastic graphic EQ, so I deactivated it. There we have it. When using two IRs, you have to make sure that you don't get phasing issues. So I'd recommend to start with only one IR. And if you cannot get good results with that, then maybe you can combine two IRs. Yeah, I think this one and the 30 watt. $30 one was also very good. Yeah, so I hope this helps you, lucky owners of these beautiful AxeFx Ultra, AxeFx Standard, to create good tones with it. As I said, I will try to upload my patches in AxeChange. You can find them then if you are looking for Shrek Guitar Murphy. And other than that, please subscribe to my channel, honestly. And also tell your girlfriends to subscribe, because I need more women in the subscribe list. Yeah, that's it from me. Hope to see you soon. Bye.